All right, let's go ahead, and that kind of introduces quality assurance and testing. So what is software quality? What is quality? What does quality assurance mean? And what does it mean for software? And then you may have heard the term V&V or validation and verification. Those sound like synonyms to each other. What's the difference between those two? So in general, if you were to take a business class, is what is product quality, they have this phrase, fitness for use. So, but that means for quality, it's business value for both the customer and for the manufacturer. And what quality assurance, QA, is either processes or standards that result in high quality products and also to improve the manufacturing process. That QA involves both of those things. So what does software quality mean then? So it satisfies the customer's needs, like we talked about the legacy code. It's easy to use, gets correct answers, doesn't crash and stuff, but it's also easy for the developer, who's kind of the manufacturer, to debug and enhance. And so what software quality assurance is ensures the quality improves the processes in a software organization. So a QA team will be looking at the value of the software itself and then see if there's processes that can be improved. This generally gets called about quality assurance. So what's the difference between verification and validation? So verification is, did you meet the specification? That's what that term means. Another way to say it is, did you build the thing right? What validation is the specification really what the customer wants? Does the specification correctly reflect what the customer is asking for? So another way to say it, did you build the right thing, all right? So that's verification and validation. Pretty much for hardware, people have a really good idea of what the hardware should be, like for a processor, so it's generally verification. But with software, it's really validation, because the customer, as you'll learn in this class, the customer doesn't really know what they want until they see it, right? Once they see it working, no, that's not quite what I want, and so they want you to change it. And the way we assure software quality is via testing. So testing is, you can't do it exhaustively. Even if you had one 64-bit variable, you could do a test in 1 nanosecond. With 64 bits, there's 2 to the 30th nanoseconds in a second. 2 to the 34 nanoseconds is 500 years. So it would take 500 years to exhaustively test one 64-bit variable, so obviously you can't do it. So what people do is divide and conquer. They have a variety of tests at different levels of the system, and then you rely on the tests at the lower level to do their job, and then you'll do this higher piece. So classically, the way this is done, the test at the bottom within a single class is called a unit test. The method does what was expected. A modular function test would be across classes or these units. Integration test would be putting higher level things together and make sure the correct assumptions. You remember the problem on the Mars orbiter, they were using different units. The integration test should have noticed that. And then system or acceptance test is the customer is satisfied with it and accepts it. Other phrases that you'll hear about testing is black box versus white box testing. Black box means you just look at the specs. White box means you look inside the implementation to come up with reasons. Test coverage, this percentage of the code paths that are covered. Have you exercised everything with your tests? Or are there pieces of the code that haven't been exercised? Regression testing is the idea is once you make changes to it, rather than, I assume all the tests will work, you try all the tests you've made every time to see if you broke anything as you added it. And continuous integration, it gets called CI sometimes, is every time you add a new feature, it's constantly running the code all the time overnight. Rather than later in the process you test it, it's continuously being tested every time you check in. All right, we are ready for another question.